In this video, we're going to come to a conclusion for my adventures in Frontier Scum and go over the charts I created for this game. So let's get into this. Welcome to Solitary RPG. It is with a heavy heart that I advise you that Slobbers has met his fate on the trail to Sickwater in a tragic gunfight. But let me tell you how the story unfolded. I set up to play a game, a Frontier Scum, and I was using the charts that I have created here. So I've created a travel encounters chart, a camp encounters chart, and thanks to Warm Tropical Wave, we're coming up with this awesome Oracle using playing cards. It's come in very handy with the games that I played of Frontier Scum. But basically, I just kind of launched off on my next adventure, and I was playing Slobbers, and he was just on the trail. He was just heading towards Sickwater, and I rolled up on a travel encounter table. So basically, the way this works is every day of travel, I have to do a DR12 roll. I can either add luck or grit. It just depends on the story that's taking place at the time. So this was just a boring part of the adventure. There was nothing going on that gave me an indication that I should use luck. So I use grit. If I fail my travel rolls, I roll on the travel encounter table. This means something happened. If I pass, nothing happens, and we move on. And what ended up happening is I failed my DR12 roll, and I rolled a 2, which meant the terrain or path is blocked, and I needed to go around it, and it was going to take D6 hours. So I was, just playing and having a good time, and I was like, well, what could possibly have blocked the trail or the path? And these are the kind of questions that happen when we're playing these solo games. Is you roll on a chart, you roll on a table, you get some sort of indication of a word or maybe a situation, and you got to figure out what it was. So the first thing that came to mind was, well, is what's blocking the trail natural? Is there some sort of a natural obstruction to the trail that I was on? So I went to the Oracle, asked the Oracle. The Oracle said, no, it's not natural. So I was like, okay, so it's not a natural blockage. So I was like, oh, this is simple. We're on a trail. Someone's wagon broke down. Okay, that seems interesting. It gave Slobbers an opportunity to kind of look around. So I rolled a 6 for the number of hours it was going to take. So I was like, okay, so if I got a broken down wagon on the trail and it's going to take 6 hours, to me this indicated, okay, I was going to have an encounter at the wagon. Something was going to be going on at the wagon. And I was like, this is cool. And I was like, all right, what kind of wagon do I have? I just kind of came up with Trapper. I wasn't rolling on any charts or anything. I said, it's a trapper's wagon. So there's a bunch of furs and stuff in the back. So is there anybody around? First, the Oracle said, no, there's nobody around. So, Slobbers went up to the wagon. He was poking around, prodding around. And I was like, well, is there anything inside the wagon? And I rolled a yes, but. So I got that positive yes. However, I got the big but in the end of it. So I was like, all right, well, to me, it was just like, well, yeah, there's something in the wagon. And it's one of the owners of the wagon. They were hiding in the back of it, kind of protecting their goods, their furs and stuff. So then I go on to so now I have an encounter. I'm like, cool, we got some stuff going on. We're having a good time. And I get into the book because inside Frontier Scums, there's an NPC reaction. So what happens when you start rolling a bunch of dice in solo games? Sometimes the dice don't like you. So I have this encounter. I'm like, well, what's their reaction? I rolled a 2. So on a 2d6, I got the snake eyes, which for this game is pretty fitting for me. Kill or capture. So I got I went with grizzly, old trapper. The wagon's broken down. It threw a wheel. I think that's a thing in wagon talk. It threw a wheel. it was down, but there was, it was just the wagon. So apparently someone took the horses. That meant there was another person, and I rolled the kill capture. So I went, all right. And we're going to go NPC reactions, who's going to get to go first. And I roll, enemies go first. Boom, boom. In this game, combat is brutal. It is a brutal, brutal world, the Frontier Scum. He hit Slobbers, and the thing is, he was with pistols. Okay, so with a revolver, if you roll a 6, it explodes. You keep rolling until you stop rolling 6s, and you add them all up, and that's your damage. And Slobbers was dead. I just want to point out that when I was playing my game and Slobbers got shot, I did forget about the don't forget your hat rule. And I rolled the damage. Turns out that Slobber died. So I decided as a gamer that I didn't want the session to end. So I went ahead and gave myself the leeway to just go ahead and implement the rule and carry on with the story. This is one of the things that you can do freely in a solo game because it's just you, and I don't have to worry about someone getting all weird about me breaking the rules. So I just want to point that out before I continue on in this video, just so you understand that, yes, I know I'm supposed to decide to lose my hat before rolling damage. I did it after the fact. It was just an oversight on my part, and that is it. So let's carry on. Don't forget your hat, and this is what I forgot. I forgot my hat. So one of the things that's cool about Frontier Scums is you do have a safeguard for 1 round of combat, maybe more, where you can lose your hat to block all damage from a single attack. So this is kind of cool. So Slobbers lost his hat, shot back. There was a few rounds of shooting back and forth, and Slobbers ended up killing the trapper on the wagon. But there was a gunfight, which meant noise, and I'm a big supporter of, like, if you're making a bunch of noise, that attracts people from all around because they hear the noise. But Slobbers lost his hat. After everything was said and done, Slobbers went to go get his hat back. You got to check luck. I don't know if you remember, but Slobbers has -2 in luck. He didn't survive his hat. So basically, the narrative I came up with is when the grizzly trapper shot Slobbers, hit his hat, flung his hat off, and because of the friction from the shooting and the hot lead hitting his hat, it caught the hat on fire and just kind of burnt it all up. And there was it was no longer usable, is what I came up with. So Slobbers lost his hat, which is unfortunate because your hats are cool in cowboy games. So anyways, so that was kind of the end of that encounter. And then I was like, all right, so Slobbers is now looking through the wagon, and I'm rolling, and then I asked the Oracle again. I'm like, does the other person come back? And I got the yes and. Yeah, it was his partner. And as Slobbers was looking around, he just basically said, I went with the stereotypical cowboy kind of interaction. You shot my paw. And that's all Slobbers hears. And the guy, he gets shot at, so he got caught off guard. He got shot. So I didn't actually have the PC worked out. So I was like, well, what did he get shot with? Like, what did the guy shoot at? I don't want to just keep saying everybody's got revolvers. So, you got a chart here. I was like, well, that'd be cool. Let's just roll on this D66 chart and see what we get. I rolled 56. I got a long rifle. So basically, this guy comes tooting up with a long rifle, and it does D10 damage. Well, you roll a D10 for damage, and I rolled a 9 for damage, and I no longer had my hat, so I couldn't avoid the damage. So basically, I just went with Slobbers was dead. That was the end of Slobbers. It was this really cool conflict of just pulling oracles and getting results from the oracles, interpreting that stuff, using the information that you have available. I had an NPC that came back to the wagon, but I didn't have anything for him yet. So the rule book gives me what I need. It gave me a chart to quickly roll on, just to say what kind of weapon it has, instead of me as the player getting stuck in these ruts of always using the same thing or going to what I know. I want to try different things. So that's why charts are cool. But yeah, that was kind of the end of Slobbers. I still have rattlesnake eyes in this world. that I've created or this scenario that I created. So I can always come back to it. But I think for right now, what I'm going to do is put this all on hold, because I have a lot of role playing games that I really want to play, and I only focus on one at a time as far as playing goes. So I don't have five different role playing games going on at the same time. I just have one. So I'm going to put this on hold. But here's the chart that we created. It's a pretty simple chart. Like I said, you have a travel. You know, every day you travel, then you roll, and if you pass your travels, everything's good. If you fail, you roll on this encounters table. Same thing for camping. You do a DR12 roll, because that's one of the main mechanics of Frontier Scum and a lot of the Morgborg type products is everything's a DR12, and you roll a D20. This is not a D20, but this is a cool D20 because this is also an Oracle. But you roll your D20, and if you pass, great. If you fail, you fail, and then plus or minus your stats for that. So we have that. I think if I'm going to create anything else, I want to create maybe a city encounter, because if you really break down what is a Western going to primarily be made up of, is you're either going to be at a city or you're going to be traveling. Pretty basic stuff. And then obviously you're going to be out camping. I could create tons of other charts, but I just want to create the basics. And then I just created a quick, took the Oracle information for the pulling of the cards and just made a quick chart for it. And then I also typed up all the rules that I have here for poker, for playing poker, 5-card draw. Cool Tropical Wave had given more suggestions. We kind of went a little bit back and forth with some other suggestions, but I think what I had created here is going to work. I like what I've created. It works out pretty simple. But one of the benefits of walking away from the game now and coming back to it later is going to be the opportunity to revisit this information to see if it still works. Sometimes, just like anything in life, when you work on mechanics for games, or even if you're writing a novel or doing other things, activities, to you everything sounds good, everything looks good, because all the information's fresh in your head and you kind of understand where your mind is at right now. But if you walk away for a while, let's say 6 months, and you come back to it and you revisit that information, you might realize, oh yeah, that doesn't make sense, and make tweaks and changes. And that's what we'll do here with this, is later on in life, when time frees up and is available, I may revisit all this. I may not. Frontier Scums is fun. It is a neat game. But I have a lot of neat games. So I don't know when I'm going to come back to it, but we'll see. But anyways, I just wanted to kind of touch base on wrapping this series of videos up. This was basically from beginning to end of getting into a game, looking at it and creating it for solo adventure, and all the steps and things that I do. One of the driving motivations behind this channel, as solo gamers, especially for RPGs, but also miniature games and any other kind of games that we like to play, we put a lot of effort and energy into creating these solo games, reading the rules and breaking them down and coming up with how we want to proceed with them. What tables, what charts, what books, what resources do we want to use to create this solo game, this solo experience? And I want to be able to share that. And I encourage others to create their own YouTube channels and do the same thing, because we all will approach these games differently. I can guarantee you, anyone else that wants to take Frontier Scum on as a solo game will come up with their own creative ways. And as communities, if we get 4 or 5 people coming up, working on a project like this, we could come up with some really cool, solid rules for playing Frontier Scum solo. And that's what videos like this are all about. It's sharing the information, taking all the hard work and effort of creating this solo game and sharing it with others. No different than a blog page or any other kind of sharing site, like posting comments on Facebook or Reddit or anything like that. That's all these videos are for, and I encourage everyone to kind of create their own. share your videos and let people see what you're working on, and pick and choose what they want to add to their solo adventures to create their own environment. So anyways, thank you for watching and have a great day. Bye.